Echoes of war. A century of conflict. The world in the 21st century stands witness to a resurgence of geopolitical tensions reminiscent of the darkest days of the 20th century. From the battlefields of Europe to the streets of the Middle East, the spectre of conflict looms large. The echoes of World War I and the shadow of World War II serve as stark reminders of the devastating consequences of unchecked aggression and the fragility of peace. We must confront the uncomfortable truth that the seeds of discord sown in the past continue to bear bitter fruit in the present. The rise of nationalism, the pursuit of narrow self-interest, and the failure of diplomacy are all too familiar themes that resonate across the decades. History, it seems, is not merely a subject to be studied, but a cautionary tale to be heeded. As we navigate the complexities of a multipolar world, understanding the historical trajectory of global conflict is paramount. The First World War, once deemed the war to end all wars, tragically proved to be anything but. It shattered the illusion of a civilized world order and ushered in an era of unprecedented bloodshed and global upheaval. The Second World War, a conflict of even greater magnitude and horror, followed just 2 decades later, plunging humanity into a darkness from which it is still recovering. These 2 global conflicts, separated by a mere blink in historical terms, left an indelible mark on the world, shaping the geopolitical landscape for generations to come. The Great War Seeds of Destruction. The First World War, often referred to as the Great War, erupted in the summer of 1914, shattering the fragile peace that had held Europe together for decades. A complex web of alliances, imperial ambitions, and nationalist fervour culminated in a continental conflagration that would claim the lives of millions and redraw the map of Europe. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary in Sarajevo on June 28, 1914, provided the spark that ignited the powder keg of European tensions. Austria-Hungary, backed by Germany, issued an ultimatum to Serbia, seen as harbouring nationalist aspirations that threatened the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Serbia's reluctance to fully comply with the ultimatum triggered a chain reaction of declarations of war, drawing the great powers of Europe into the abyss. Germany, fearing a 2-front war, enacted the Schlieffen Plan, a military strategy that called for a swift knockout blow against France through neutral Belgium before turning its attention to Russia. The German invasion of Belgium, a violation of Belgian neutrality, brought Great Britain into the conflict. The British Empire, with its vast colonial holdings and formidable navy, joined the war on the side of France and Russia, forming the Triple Entente. The early stages of the war were marked by a series of swift offensives that quickly bogged down into a bloody stalemate. Between the ashes, a world primed for war. The armistice of 1918 brought an end to the fighting on the Western Front, but it did not bring an end to the turmoil that had engulfed the world. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, officially ended World War I, but sowed the seeds for future conflict. The treaty, driven by a desire for retribution and a misguided belief that Germany could be permanently weakened, imposed harsh reparations payments and territorial concessions on the defeated nation. Germany, humiliated and economically crippled by the terms of the treaty, became fertile ground for resentment and extremist ideologies. The rise of Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party in the 1930s can be directly attributed to the political and economic instability that plagued Germany in the aftermath of World War I. Hitler's message of national revival and his promise to restore Germany to its former glory resonated with a population desperate for hope and eager for a scapegoat to blame for their suffering. The interwar period also witnessed the rise of other totalitarian regimes, each with its own expansionist ambitions and disregard for international law. The Soviet Union, under the iron grip of Joseph Stalin, embarked on a program of rapid industrialization and collectivization, often at a terrible human cost. In Italy, Benito Mussolini and his fascist party seized power, promising to restore order and revive the glories of the Roman Empire. A World in Flames, The Second World War. The outbreak of World War II in 1939 marked the failure of diplomacy and the triumph of aggression. Adolf Hitler's Germany, emboldened by its remilitarization and territorial gains, invaded Poland on September 1, 1939, triggering a global conflict that would claim the lives of an estimated 40 to 85 million people. The Second World War was a conflict of unprecedented scale and brutality, fought across multiple continents and involving the vast majority of the world's nations. The war in Europe was characterized by lightning-fast offensives known as blitzkrieg, which combined air power, tanks and infantry to devastating effect. Germany quickly overran much of continental Europe, crushing Poland, Denmark, Norway, the Netherlands, Belgium and France in rapid succession. Great Britain, under the leadership of Winston Churchill, stood alone against the Nazi war machine. The Battle of Britain, an aerial campaign fought over the skies of England in 1940, proved to be a turning point in the war. The Royal Air Force, though outnumbered, inflicted heavy losses on the Luftwaffe, ultimately forcing Hitler to abandon his plans for a land invasion of Britain. The Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7, 1941, brought the United States into the war. The war in the Pacific was characterized by brutal island-hopping campaigns, naval battles, and the use of atomic bombs by the United States against Japan in August 1945. The atomic age began with a flash of light and a mushroom cloud. It was a moment that changed the course of history forever. The development and use of atomic weapons during World War II marked a new era in warfare. The sheer destructive power of these weapons brought about a new kind of fear and a race for nuclear supremacy. Nations around the world were suddenly thrust into a new reality, where the threat of nuclear annihilation loomed large. This was not just a military revolution, but a profound shift in global politics and human consciousness. The Cold War era saw an arms race like no other. Countries invested heavily in nuclear arsenals, leading to a precarious balance of power known as mutually assured destruction, or MAD. The atomic age also sparked significant advancements in science and technology. While the threat of nuclear war remained ever present, the potential for peaceful applications of nuclear energy began to emerge. The duality of nuclear technology, with its potential for both destruction and progress, has been a defining feature of the modern world. The Cold War transformed the world into a global chessboard, where superpowers maneuvered for dominance through a series of strategic moves and countermoves. The ideological battle between the United States and the Soviet Union was fought on multiple fronts, from proxy wars in distant lands to the space race and espionage. Each move was calculated to gain an advantage without triggering a full-scale war. This period saw the rise of numerous alliances and pacts, such as NATO and the Warsaw Pact, which further solidified the divisions between East and West. The world was divided into spheres of influence. The geopolitical strategies employed during the Cold War were complex and often covert. Intelligence agencies played a crucial role in gathering information and executing clandestine operations to undermine the opposing side. The Cuban Missile Crisis of 1962 was perhaps the most tense moment of this era, bringing the world to the brink of nuclear war. It was a stark reminder of the high stakes involved in this global chess game. Despite the constant threat of conflict, the Cold War also led to significant diplomatic efforts and treaties aimed at reducing the risk of nuclear war. The SALT agreements and the INF Treaty are notable examples of such efforts. As the Cold War eventually came to an end, the world witnessed the fall of the Berlin Wall and the dissolution of the Soviet Union. These events marked the conclusion of a pivotal chapter in global history. As we entered the new millennium, conflicts took on new forms and complexities. The world saw a rise in asymmetric warfare, terrorism, and cyber threats. Traditional state-on-state wars became less common, while non-state actors and insurgent groups gained prominence. This era also witnessed unprecedented technological advancements which, while beneficial, also introduced new vulnerabilities. The 21st century has been characterized by a heightened sense of global tension. Economic disparities, political instability, and environmental crises have all contributed to a world on edge. The interconnectedness of our global economy means that a crisis in one region can have ripple effects across the world. Political instability in one country can lead to mass migrations, while environmental disasters can exacerbate existing conflicts. Despite the numerous challenges, there have been significant efforts to avert global catastrophe. International organizations and treaties play a crucial role in maintaining peace and security. Initiatives such as the United Nations and various disarmament treaties have been pivotal. Diplomacy, though often slow and fraught with setbacks, remains our best tool for preventing large-scale conflicts. In today's world, media plays a crucial role in shaping public perception and influencing the course of conflicts. The power of information, and sometimes misinformation, can sway public opinion and policy decisions. The 24-hour news cycle, social media, and instant communication have transformed how we consume information. While this can lead to greater awareness and mobilization, it also means that misinformation can spread rapidly, complicating conflict resolution efforts. The media's role is therefore a double-edged sword, capable of both enlightening and misleading the public.